Because when we are in a conflict, we usually are also under stress, we often will choose one position over another without considering which would be best for the specific situation we face. Our brains access most quickly the scripts where it has the most practice and experience. How did conflict get expressed in the environment in which you grew up? Did family members argue productively with each other, or did a parent yell and another storm off? Were children expected to stay silent, or were they encouraged to disagree? How about in school, in your first job? Our earliest experiences teach us the right way, quote, to manage conflict. Now that you're deciding to be the best manager you can be, you can choose to change those habits of mind. Imagine the brain is like a file cabinet where we have stored all of our learning and experience, starting in early childhood and adding more throughout our lives. Each conflict position has a folder: power dominance, avoidance, etc. And within each folder are all the notes we've taken throughout our lives on how to behave in each condition. What worked in the past to get us what we wanted is likely to be imprinted in those files. The more practice we have pulling out a specific folder, the quicker we will be to go to that folder when faced with a conflict. But that position may not be the most productive at that moment in that situation or with that person. So, how do we choose? How do we know which position might offer the greatest chance of resolving our conflict productively and for the long term? Well, when faced with a conflict, ask yourself, is this issue of low stakes, so there's really no point in arguing its merits? Alternatively, is the issue important, but now not really the right time, particularly if emotions are running high, to deal with it? Maybe it's a good idea to avoid or withdraw from such a conflict for the short term. And if you are withdrawing because of high emotions, it is critical to say so. I think we need a few minutes to cool off. Let's leave this discussion for now and talk about it again after we both had some time to think. How does 3 o'clock sound for you? Make sure all parties put the time on their calendars. Otherwise, there's a good chance that conversation will be avoided entirely. And as you recall, unresolved task conflicts become future affective conflicts. And if you, someone else, or someone's property is physically at risk, perhaps you should withdraw for now while ensuring you confront the issue at a safer time. On the other hand, if the issue is important and there is a high risk to delaying or dropping the issue, or if the risk of avoiding the conflict is greater than the need to overcome it, don't walk away. If you might feel resentful later, like you think it's not important, but over time you believe you'll feel a boundary has been crossed, it is unwise to avoid or withdraw. The reasons to accommodate someone else or smooth over a conflict are similar to the reasons for withdrawing or avoiding from the conflict. Sometimes the relationship is more important than the issue, and it will be wiser to accommodate. However, if the relationship is important and the issue is important, and the other person's willing to discuss options, long term accommodating leads to a loss. There is no reason to smooth others' feathers if they're willing to work things through with you. You could be giving up the opportunity to learn how to deal with conflict with this person that could help you later. And in the short term, you could be giving up the chance to come to a more powerful solution than is available through accommodation. You will notice there are many ands in the use when column for competing in power dominance. Use your power to dominate in a conflict sparingly. Being unnecessarily competitive or using your power without due cause may lead others to resenting you and likely will cost you opportunities to optimize decisions. Then there's compromise. It's fine to compromise when you don't have much time, the issues of medium importance, and both parties have room to maneuver, but it is not always the best choice, especially if it will result in a mediocre outcome. The gold standard for conflict resolution is collaborating or problem solving. When we collaborate, we look for solutions that will help everyone. We dig deeply to get to underlying concerns and issues, and we often discover or create new ways of doing things that are far superior to what each of us thought of before we collaborated. However, collaboration takes time. It requires all parties to be willing to engage and all parties to have listening and collaboration skills. Teach your employees to collaborate, and you will save time and have better outcomes long term. However, if you do not have time to work through the issue with other people, don't pretend you plan to collaborate. When we rush people through a collaboration, they tend not to trust our future offers to collaborate. During this course, we'll discuss the skills and culture you'll need to develop for yourself and your teams to collaborate productively. In summary, there are 5 common conflict positions. And the biggest takeaway from this part of the lecture is that there is no one right way to respond in all conflicts. Your most used position is useful sometimes, and the position you tend to not use is also useful in some circumstances. The best thing you can do for yourself is to practice using a variety of tools. And practice enough so that your brain can go to the other files with the other tools more readily than it can right now. Because for most of us, conflict is stressful. And when we're under stress, our brains take the road most traveled.